On a dreary winter morning in the suburbs of Chicago, 18-year-old Ethan Carter stood behind the register at Greenfield Grocers, a local supermarket. The air was thick with the chill of January, and the overcast sky cast a dull light over the bustling aisles. Ethan, dressed in a faded green apron over a navy hoodie, was accustomed to the routine of scanning items and bagging groceries. He was a quiet presence, known for his warm smile and gentle demeanor, but today felt different. As the clock ticked toward 10:30 a.m., the store was relatively calm, a brief lull before the midday rush. Ethan was scanning items for a young mother when he noticed an elderly woman, Helen Parker, approach the counter. She moved slowly, her oversized coat hanging loosely on her frail frame, and the faint scent of lavender wafted from her. With trembling hands, she placed a small wire basket on the conveyor belt, filled with a loaf of bread, a quart of milk, a small pack of butter, and a single can of chicken noodle soup. "Good morning, ma'am. Staying warm out there?" Ethan greeted her, his voice soft and inviting. "Trying to," she replied, her pale eyes meeting his with a hint of weariness. As he scanned her items, the total flashed on the register, $6.12 that Ethan expected her to pull out a wallet, but instead, she reached into her oversized purse and produced a small, faded cloth pouch. As she untied the drawstring, coins spilled out, clinking softly against the counter. She began to count, her hands shaking slightly, murmuring the amounts under her breath. "I'm 85 cents short," she said, her voice barely above a whisper, tinged with embarrassment. Before Ethan could respond, the man behind her, a broad-shouldered figure in a heavy parka, began tapping his fingers impatiently against the counter. The sound echoed in the quiet store, amplifying the tension in the air. Helen's shoulders tightened, and she glanced at the can of soup, her eyes filled with regret. "Maybe we can put this one back," she suggested, her voice fading as the weight of the moment settled around them. Ethan felt a surge of empathy. He could see the struggle in her eyes, the unspoken plea for help. The register screen still glowed with the total, and the man's tapping grew more insistent. The atmosphere shifted, and Ethan realized everyone was waiting for something to happen, for someone to break the silence. In that moment, he made a choice. He reached into his apron pocket and pulled out his worn leather wallet. Without a word, he slid a single dollar bill onto the counter, breaking the tension like a drop of rain on a still pond. "This one's on me, ma'am," he said, his tone calm and sincere. "Consider it a gift." Helen's eyes widened in surprise, and for a moment, she seemed at a loss for words. "Oh no, I can't let you," she began, but her voice faltered. Ethan smiled gently. "You used to read to us at the library, didn't you? It's my turn to give something back." Recognition flickered in her eyes, and tears brimmed as she nodded, overwhelmed by the kindness. The atmosphere in the store shifted, the tension dissolving into something softer, something sacred. As Ethan handed her the bag of groceries, a ripple of warmth spread through the line. The woman behind Helen stepped forward, her voice clear and resolute. "I'd like to pay for the next two people behind me," she said, reaching for her wallet. Before Ethan could process this, a tall man in a small coat chimed in. "Count me in for 5 people." The energy in the store transformed, and soon, customers were offering to pay for one another, smiles spreading like wildfire. Ethan watched in awe as the once quiet grocery line became a tapestry of generosity. Laughter and conversation filled the air, and the atmosphere buzzed with excitement. The man in the parka, who had been so impatient moments before, now stood with a smile, witnessing the unfolding kindness. As the transactions continued, Ethan felt a profound sense of connection among the customers. Each exchange carried a small moment of joy, a reminder of the goodness that could emerge from a simple act of kindness. Days passed, and the story of that winter morning began to circulate in the community. Ethan returned to his routine, but the warmth of that day lingered in the air. He noticed how people greeted each other with a little more warmth, a little more patience, as if the echo of that morning's generosity still resonated within the walls of Greenfield Grocers. One evening, while scrolling through his phone, Ethan stumbled upon a video clip of the moment he had shared with Helen. It had been posted on social media, capturing the ripple of kindness that had spread through the store. The caption read, "This is why I love Chicago. Kindness is alive." The video went viral, and soon Ethan found himself receiving messages from people he had never met, sharing their own stories of kindness inspired by that day. Helen, too, began receiving letters of gratitude, handwritten notes from strangers who had been touched by her story. Weeks later, as Ethan restocked bags at his register, Mr. Thompson, the store manager, approached him with a plain white envelope. "This came for you," he said, placing it on the counter. Ethan opened the envelope to find a letter from Helen's son, David. It expressed gratitude for the kindness Ethan had shown his mother, reminding him that his actions had made a significant impact. Tucked inside was a $100 gift card to a local bank, a gesture of appreciation for his selflessness. As he read the letter, Ethan felt a warmth spread through him. He realized that the choice he had made that day had reached far beyond the walls of the grocery store. It had sparked a movement of kindness, a reminder that even the smallest acts could create ripples of change. Life returned to its quiet rhythm, but Ethan carried the letter with him, a reminder of the power of compassion. He continued to work at Greenfield Grocers, greeting customers with the same warmth, knowing that every interaction held the potential for kindness. And so, as he bagged groceries and shared smiles, Ethan understood that the true essence of community lay in the connections forged through simple acts of generosity. The story of the missing 85 cents had become a beacon of hope, inspiring others to carry their own coins of kindness, ready to share with those in need. In the end, it wasn't just about a can of soup or a dollar bill, it was about the chain of kindness that could change lives, one small act at a time. As the weeks turned into months, the ripple effect of that winter morning continued to grow. Ethan noticed more and more customers at Greenfield Grocers engaging with one another, sharing smiles and small conversations. The atmosphere in the store had transformed into something vibrant and warm, a community hub where kindness flourished. One Saturday afternoon, as Ethan was restocking shelves, he overheard a conversation between two women in the produce section. They were discussing how they had both been inspired by the story of the 85 cents. One of them, a local teacher named Sarah, mentioned how she had started a kindness club at her school, encouraging her students to perform small acts of kindness each week. "That's amazing," Ethan thought, feeling a swell of pride. The impact of his simple gesture was reaching far beyond what he had imagined. Later that day, as Ethan was ringing up a customer, a young girl named Lily approached him with a bright smile. She was holding a small jar filled with coins. "I want to help someone today," she declared, her eyes sparkling with excitement. Ethan knelt down to her level, impressed by her enthusiasm. "That's wonderful, Lily. Do you have someone in mind?" She nodded vigorously. "I want to help someone who needs it, just like you helped that lady." Touched by her innocence and generosity, Ethan smiled. "Let's see what we can do together." With Lily's jar of coins, they approached the next customer in line, an elderly man named Mr. Jenkins, who looked a bit frazzled as he counted his change. "Excuse me, sir," Ethan said, "this is my friend Lily, and she wants to help you today." Mr. Jenkins looked surprised, his brow furrowing in confusion. "Help me? But I'm just short a few cents." Lily beamed up at him. "You can have my coins. I want you to get your groceries." The elderly man's eyes softened, and he chuckled, touched by the little girl's kindness. "Well, thank you, young lady. That's very generous of you." As they completed the transaction, Ethan felt a warmth spread through him. The chain of kindness was continuing, and it was beautiful to witness. Word of Lily's act spread through the store, and soon, other customers began to join in. One by one, they started to contribute small amounts to help those who were short on cash. The atmosphere buzzed with excitement as people began to share their stories of kindness, creating a sense of community that had been dormant for too long. Ethan watched as the store transformed into a lively hub of compassion. People were no longer just customers. They were neighbors, friends, and supporters of one another. The simple act of kindness that had started with Helen and the missing 85 cents had ignited a movement that was changing lives. As the weeks turned into months, Ethan found himself reflecting on the impact of that fateful morning. He realized that kindness was not just a one-time event. It was a continuous cycle that could inspire others to pay it forward. He felt a sense of responsibility to keep the momentum going. With the support of Mr. Thompson, Ethan organized a kindness day at Greenfield Grocers, inviting the community to come together and celebrate the spirit of giving. They set up a donation station for local charities, encouraging customers to bring in non-perishable food items and toiletries to help those in need. On the day of the event, the store was filled with laughter, music, and the smell of freshly baked goods. Families came together, sharing stories and participating in fun activities. Ethan felt a sense of fulfillment as he watched the community unite for a common cause. As the sun began to set, casting a warm glow over the store, Ethan stood at the entrance, greeting customers as they left with bags filled with groceries and hearts filled with joy. He felt a deep sense of gratitude for the journey he had been on, realizing that the chain of kindness had not only changed the lives of others but had transformed his own as well. In the end, it wasn't just about a can of soup or a dollar bill. It was about the connections forged through simple acts of generosity. The story of the missing 85 cents had become a beacon of hope, inspiring a community to embrace kindness and compassion, one small act at a time. And so, as Ethan continued to work at Greenfield Grocers, he carried the spirit of that winter morning with him, knowing that every interaction held the potential to spark a new chain of kindness, creating a brighter world for everyone.